Good evening, this is the Oscar expert here with Brother Bro, and the Gold Derby polls are open. So it's time for the annual segment in which we go look at them and then talk about them. We realized this year that it's going to be more valuable to look at the numbers, how many people are predicting the wins, how many people are predicting the nominations, instead of looking at the odds, because for some reason the odds are scrambled. Like, everything's out of order and it doesn't correlate with how many people are actually predicting. And, you know, it's always really exciting to see what people are thinking. I'm kind of curious where people are at with Air. I'm curious where people are at with Barbie. I'm curious people out with Spider-Verse, especially right now. Well, listen to this one. Not unsurprisingly, Killers of the Flower Moon is number one because it's probably the most likely movie that will be nominated, and it has nearly everybody's predicting that thing. There's not really even like a close race yet for a win. People are predicting the second most people predicting a win is Past Lives, though. You can see that because you can understand why people would be saying it's because Everything Everywhere just happened and people are saying, wow. Well, they're looking out for the passion indie
and the
screenplay, yeah. But we've been talking about it, and like, I don't really think Past Lives is gonna win. No, I don't think so. I don't really think there's going to be a narrative that catches hold as strongly as Everything Everywhere All at Once or even Coda. And you were saying that Killers of the Flower Moon feels like it has a more important angle. And so even though it's not the little indie that could, you know, maybe this is just how this year is going to go. It is shedding a light on a time in American history that we do not think about and it goes often overlooked, and is very relevant to discuss, as well as the fact that that movie has lots of veteran actors and, you know, Martin Scorsese behind it. You know, those two things together, that is strong to me. Oppenheimer's number two. That just means that literally everybody's predicting that to get nominated. No, not really many people think it's going to win. There's only 5 movies that have over 1,000 people predicting the nominations. The Color Purple, Past Lives, and Dune Part 2 are part of that, as well as Oppenheimer. Yeah, Color Purple number 3. It's because it's just like, okay. Yeah. It is. Yeah, like, that's gonna get actors and like text. It just is. You literally can't make a good argument at this point in time that it's not getting 3 acting nominations at least. And Dune Part 2, I mean, that's also like obviously a kind of a no-brainer. If any of these fell off, it'd be very surprising. If Oppenheimer fell off, it'd be absolutely shocking at this point. Like, I don't know how it does. I really agree. I think if any of them went away, it would be kind of shocking. Interestingly, The Zone of Interest is number 6, and that has 900 people predicting, which is actually like a decent gap between number 7. It's kind of surprising. And honestly, I don't even know if I have it in my top 10 right. I just don't know. You don't get movies that have this little story nominated for Best Picture usually, even when they're very critically acclaimed. And, you know, I can make the case for it if I want to. But remember when people said after Foxcatcher premiered at Cannes that is a no-brainer? Yeah. Remember when they said Carol was a no-brainer after Cannes? Yeah. What if this is that? Something like Spencer, where, you know, obviously the critics love it coming out of the festival, but like audiences, they just might be like, I think another story is gonna happen when everybody sees it and then half the people are going 98 on Metacritic, what? Or they're just gonna be like, I could appreciate that, but I didn't love it. And that could be a little bit of a red flag. I think Spider-Verse should be in the top 5 or 6 at this point. I'm not surprised that not everybody's sold, but I think it's interesting that it's in the top 10 though. Yeah, I wasn't even sure it's definitely doing well. We're really thinking that Spider-Verse gets in. Like, we really have been twisting ourselves into pretzels to make an argument against it. It's actually really strong, just in the same sense that Everything Everywhere had many different angles. You could view that film and say, like, that's what makes it a worthy Best Picture nominee. You could say that Spider-Verse is a technical achievement. It moves the ball forward on animation in general. It was a blockbuster. It feels like an original piece of entertainment. And then it also has a strong representation angle that I don't think is just superficial. And so at this point, I feel like it's difficult to say how it couldn't get in, except if you were to go by like, oh, what kind of nominations could it get? Except that I feel like screenplay is actually not that hard. And I think with the HCA giving that their mid-season Best Picture, you know, people will say that maybe that doesn't matter at all. But I'm gonna say this: if that movie is competitive with Past Lives at critics groups, and we know how strong we think Past Lives is gonna be, that makes it really fucking strong. That movie could be very competitive to win at Critics' Choice. I think Spider-Verse? Yes. Spider-Verse might come down to like one of the win competitive films at the end of the year. Like, I wouldn't be so surprised. I think it'll fall short. Interestingly, people aren't more confident about Maestro. I feel like if Maestro didn't have like bad buzz from some of the early screenings, it would be like in the top 5. No problem. And I think some people don't really care about the buzz, and that's okay to ignore it. The buzz isn't always accurate. Barbie is number 9, but it's got like 750 people predicting. Same with Saltburn. Pretty high. I'm worried that some people are it's gonna be everything they want it to be, But for like other people, it's not gonna be their thing.
I don't know if you can get away with being the Barbie movie and getting mixed reviews, but we'll see very shortly.
I go back and forth between like, oh, that does seem like a movie where people are gonna be mixed and going, I don't know how it could be bad though. I don't know how this could be going wrong.
Now I want to point something out. The top 9 movies, only one of them's a Fall Fest movie, and it's Maestro probably, unless Color Purple or Dune go to Fall Fest, which they might just skip. Saltburn and Holdovers are, I think, going to be some of the most high-profile Fall Fest films. And, you know, the Holdovers at number 11, I gotta say, I don't think so. I think that's getting in. Everybody's like, trust me, the Holdovers is going to be a big deal. It's going to please the
From
fuck
people
out of
who
everybody.
like know somebody who knows the movie or something.
It seems like that's what's... There's like a word on it that it's like, trust me, it's like the big Belfast TIFF movie, trust me. Air only has 234 people predicting it, which is kind of low. It is significantly less than the other movies.
Well, you know, but we will say that this is kind of what happened with Elvis. Like, I don't think Elvis was in the top 10 when the polls opened.
That's right.
It was
Black
about
Panther.
where Air
I remember
is.
Black Panther and Grand Budapest Hotel being...
Correct.
And Get Out being low.
Was Mad Max also low? I think Mad Max might have been, maybe?
Probably, yeah. I don't think people thought Mad Max was getting in. But now I think people are more open to it.
Sometimes there's like a Sundance movie like Minari or Whiplash that starts out of the top 10, even though people have seen it, but... This year, I don't think there's like a Sundance movie that's doing that. But, you know, it does happen that people have seen a film and yet, like, we don't know if it's an Oscar thing yet. But here's the thing about Air. If a few of these movies drop, it could suddenly become a popular thing for people to say, yeah, okay, that's like number 9, number 10. But I would like to be more confident that Air is going to get, like, at least one acting nomination for sure, and I don't feel that way. And that's what's keeping me from putting Air in like the top 10 for me right now.
The Piano Lesson is very high. This is this is the next August Wilson adaptation movie produced by Denzel Washington. Denzel Washington recruited his son to direct it. Samuel L. Jackson, I thought this for a while. He's probably going to win supporting actor for this movie when it comes out.
Yep.
But it finished filming in what, like June? Technically, sure, maybe, because it's like an August Wilson filmed play type thing. They don't have a big post-production, and maybe Netflix could rush this out by the end of the year. But until I know for sure that that's happening, I don't think this is coming out.
I think there is a chance that this comes out.
Most movies do not finish post in the summer unless you're like a Clint Eastwood movie.
All right.
Even last year, like Rustin did not come out, even though that was like...
I feel like they could make a 6-month crunch, but I also think even if it does happen, we're gonna see it more as an acting player, maybe screenplay, rather than like getting Best Picture. Right?
Yeah, it's gonna get nominated for 1 or 2 acting.
Yeah, I feel like, you know, the August Wilson plays so far, Fences and Ma Rainey, like those are the only ones we have to go off of. They were big Oscar contenders, but there was not that much passion for them in like the Best Picture field. I think people are not like super jazzed when it feels like a filmed play.
Well, it's also now it's like the third of those movies, so
right, and then people are just like less and less hyped, except the acting is going to be pretty phenomenal.
Anatomy of a Fall has enough votes where technically it's number 12. I'm actually still wondering if I should put this movie in my top 10. Okay. I also think that Anatomy of a Fall could do a little switcheroo with Zone of Interest just because it's a little bit more accessible. Because Anatomy of a Fall is riding maybe a surefire nomination in a major category with Sandra Hüller, and Screenplay would make sense.
Yeah.
So if it's riding those two, it could be stronger than Zone of Interest riding, like, what, a director nomination maybe?
Right.
Unless it's huge.
Zone of Interest is like holding on to a director nomination. Anatomy of a Fall has got screenplay and actress. Like, that is kind of stronger. I mean, I could see both getting away with those nominations and not getting Best Picture. Wait, portioning should be like 13.
May December should be a little bit higher too, because that has 200 people predicting. But that's about where it should be, I think. The Killers is not real. First of all, it's called The Killer, and then they have The Killers, and it's registered as the band because it's the guy from the band. That's the face of the guy from the band. So that probably would be higher. Other than that, I don't know. I feel like Gold Derby's like pretty on the ball. Like,
no one's like trying to call a movie that wasn't on our radar really. Like even Challengers, which is like a maybe could pop up thing, like people aren't going.
How Do You Live is also not getting a ton of
I think especially after Spider-Verse, people are like, nah, Spider-Verse is it.
Yeah. Director Scorsese's number 1, not surprising. Nolan, Celine Song, Jonathan Glazer, and Denis Villeneuve. Well, what do you know?
Pretty good 5. That's our 5, isn't it?
Yeah, that's what we have.
That's
right
a pretty
now.
good 5.
That's what I have. Yeah, I agree with that, and I agree that, and I still think that Glazer's going to get director no matter what. Blitz Bazawule, I think he is not going to get a director nomination, as we said, but number 6, a lot of people are thinking him. Justine Triet, Anatomy of a Fall. I wouldn't be surprised if even there's a scenario where Anatomy of a Fall gets picture, but it doesn't get director, and Zone of Interest doesn't get picture, but it does get direct. That could be a thing that we.
Yeah, it's not like a highly stylized movie from the trailer. It seems.
Gerwig for Barbie. I think people are right that maybe she's not top 5 because the movie is not going to be top 5 probably.
But I think it still could do it because if people love Barbie enough, there's like a good argument for why that movie is different and creative.
Emerald Fennell should be in the top 10. That's worth noting.
Interesting that Bradley Cooper's pretty low for Maestro, even though that is like a very stylized movie from what I've heard.
Yeah, well, if people think it's gonna get in like just by being bait, and it's gonna sneak in as like a number 9, that makes sense that he wouldn't get director. And he also didn't get it for Star is Born.
No one really thinking Ben Affleck for Air. That's good.
Best Actor, DiCaprio is number 1 in terms of people predicting him for the nomination, and that makes sense because he is the most likely person to be nominated. He is the most likely at this point.
But people are very split on who's going to win. Actually, no. Bradley Cooper has the most predictions for a win.
That also makes sense because he's giving the most Beatty biopic transformation performance out of anybody here.
You think it'd just be like weird for Leonardo DiCaprio to actually win? Like, you don't think it's going to happen?
I wouldn't say it's impossible, but it just doesn't feel like it. Cillian Murphy has a decent amount predicting him to win actually too.
Number 2.
Then Coleman Domingo comes in at number 4. Pretty strong. Would be a shame if
he missed because his film's not in Best Picture.
Yeah. You know, Paul Giamatti, I really have to concede. I think he's going to get nominated. Me thinking that other people need to fall to make room for him, no. I don't think that's how it's gonna go. I think that he's gonna just be a staple of the category, and other people are going to have to hope that they don't get booted out by him.
I also wonder, you know how there's that award that goes to like either the best actor or the best actress, eventual winner of the Oscar, and it happens at TIFF? What if he emerges from the festivals as like, oh my god, Paul Giamatti is in it to win it. And then he gets that award. He gets that like tribute TIFF award.
Kingsley Ben-Adir has, a chunk less votes. We've been pretty gung-ho on having him in the 5. Because we're like, well, he's literally trying Bob Marley. Well, the trailer's coming tomorrow, so it's going to be out by the time this video's out, probably. We got some people predicting Joaquin Phoenix for Napoleon, Teo Yu for Past Lives, Michael Fassbender for The Killer.
You didn't talk about Barry Keoghan.
Yeah, well, he makes sense at number 6. Yeah, that makes sense to me.
Does.
I actually do think that people will probably end up accepting Teo Yu as lead. That's where I'm leading now.
So?
Yeah, I kind of think so.
Why?
I don't know, the HCA nominated him in lead. It just kind of makes more sense to me.
Meh. That's the only thing that happened. I think it could go the other way.
People don't believe in David Strathairn. I mean, I wonder how low Bill Nye was at this point of the year.
This year has so much more competition, though, in Best Actor than last year did.
Supporting actress, we got overwhelming majority predicting Lily Gladstone to win. In fact, this is like 90% of people predicting her to win right now. It makes sense, especially if that movie wins Best Picture. We all know what's going to happen.
We've been thinking she was going to win, like, for the past, 2 years, too.
Well, everybody's been thinking. But things can change,
Yeah.
I'm still going to say you never know. You have an equal amount of people who think that Taraji P. Henson and Danielle Brooks can win. And that makes sense that they're number 2 and 3. That's like, yeah. Yep. Julianne Moore next. Julianne Moore very next, actually. She has a lot of votes. Wow. She has a lot of votes. I would be happy.
And then the next is actually Divine Joy Randolph.
Yeah, technically it's Divine Joy Randolph, which is going to happen. It's just going to happen.
Well, if the holdovers is what you say it is, it will happen.
Yeah, well, yeah. And Viola Davis Air is kind of number 6 if you
honestly
really think about
underwhelming for all the praise that performance got.
But everybody's seen it, and they know that it's like, you could nominate her for that, but
I know,
you don't
that's what I
have
think.
to. That's how it feels.
I think people are feeling like, great Viola Davis performance, but you don't have to do it.
Yeah.
Especially if the movie's not there, you definitely don't have to do it.
Is it in people's top 5 of the year right now? Yeah. Is it going to be in people's top 5 of the year by the end of the year?
Top 5?
I don't know. Top 5 supporting actress performances.
Oh, yeah.
Emily Blunt is pretty high for Oppenheimer. I don't have a lot of optimism over that, but, we'll see. Rosamund Pike in Saltburn is also not far behind. Danielle Deadwyler for The Piano Lesson is number 9. I'm thinking I would like to see them give her a makeup nomination for that next year or whenever this comes out, and I think she does have a big role in that. I would maybe predict it if it were coming out. And then Jodie Comer, Bike Riders, there's actually a lot of people predicting that, which is that's just a random thing. It's just like Jodie Comer maybe. But it's like,
yeah, I mean, she was winning a lot of Emmys for a supporting performance, so maybe they're thinking about that.
Maya Hawke and Maestro not being 1 in 100, that is funny. Best supporting actor, Robert De Niro is actually overwhelmingly people's number 1.
I think that's fair for now.
He might win. But this feels like a thing that will not be the way that it is at the end of the year.
Okay,
it just doesn't feel like it.
Coleman Domingo, The Color Purple. Oh, no, that's not number 2. Number 2 is Ryan Gosling for Barbie.
And he has a decent amount of people thinking that he can win too, which is funny. And you know what? That clip of him that was going around, I thought he was really fucking good in that. And I was like, I can see how it could be such a special comedic performance that people actually want to reward him for it.
But if Barbie no in Best Picture,
even if people who don't love the movie think that he deserves it anyway, he could still miss because of that.
But if Barbie's like in, and it gets SAG Ensemble and PGA and everything.
If Barbie's in Best Picture, he's getting nominated.
John McGarr for Past Lives is number 3. Barely. Like, he's like basically number 2. He's like pretty much tied with Gosling right now.
Yeah, so everyone agrees he's getting nominated, which is true.
Yeah.
But nobody thinks he's winning, really, which is also true, because he's not going to win.
Number 4 is Coleman Domingo for The Color Purple. If actor is packed, and they're like, sorry, Coleman Domingo, we can't fit you, but here's the deal, man. We can get you in for The Color Purple. Okay, we can get you in for The Color Purple because it's a less crowded race.
Yeah, I guess they can do that.
What if that happened?
That could be possible. Or maybe he Scarlett Johansson's it and gets his first.
He could get
time.
People could be really gung ho about him, and he could do both. Because like when you campaign yourself for one movie, I mean, it kind of helps like both the movies you're in.
Yeah, he'll probably get nominated for something, which is at least comforting to know. Yeah, Charles Melton's number 5, which I love, and that's interesting that people have caught the word. They've caught the word. You know, many people don't know who he is, but they understand that this is a very big role for him. Samuel L. Jackson for The Piano Lesson, who, you know, honestly, if you're predicting that for the nomination, you should be predicting it for the win. And yet, you know, we don't see that. But
if you genuinely think it's coming out, you should predict it to win.
Jesse Plemons is number 7, and that is a little high for him because you'll see the movie and you'll think
people are just having like power. They just think that Power of the Dog is going to happen again. They're like, I don't even care how big he is in the movie. He wasn't big in Why would that happen twice though? They'll just like throw away their darlings in just a second. They didn't nominate Barry Jenkins as Beale Street even though they love Moonlight. So they don't really care if you've been nominated. Like it's just a case by case thing. It's not like, oh, you're Jesse Plemons. We love you so much. We're going to nominate you no matter what.
And his best line in the movie is the one in the new trailer. My opinion. And just know that, watch the trailer, know that, and then you say that's the best moment in the movie, and I would say, yeah, maybe. Mark Ruffalo, Poor Things. I mean, yeah, if that movie's in Best Picture, you know, the trailers make him seem like he's big in it.
He looks super goofy in it, though.
That's okay, if it's a
comedy. And it's funny, you know, where's Willem Dafoe in Poor Things? Where is he?
He's number 12. Glenn Howard in Blackberry, which you've never talked about, and I've never seen Blackberry, but I'll just say this. Blackberry didn't make a lot of money. IFC Films distributed it. It's not going to get any nominations, I'm sorry. Critics might try to revive him, but I don't think that Glenn Howerton has like, I don't think he has like enough of a career behind him either to support him being the only nomination from an IFC distributed movie that didn't make a lot of money. I don't think that's going to actually happen, but you know what? Good for people for recognizing it, and I think he'll get some attention at the end of the year, probably. Oh, good. Robert Downey Jr. for Oppenheimer is like down there, as he should be.
He's still above Matt Damon in Oppenheimer, though.
Well, yeah, but he should be above Matt Damon. No one's going to nominate Matt Damon for Oppenheimer.
No. Robert Downey Jr. looks like a cameo.
You think Matt Damon's going to get nominated?
Matt Damon was in the movie the most, according to the trailer.
I still don't care.
He was like his right-hand man.
No one's going to want to nominate him for it.
I know, but he should definitely be above everybody else.
I don't agree.
I think he's the most likely supporting nomination.
Look at Ben Affleck for Air has nothing. None of the Air boys have squat jack. Yeah. Best Actress, Fantasia Barrino, people think is going to win. Fantasia Barrino is going to be probably the biggest performance except for maybe Jessica Lange, honestly. Jessica Lange is not in the top 5. And that is, I think, misguided. If that movie's actually coming out and it actually exists, and like I'm not fully convinced that it exists. People who have seen her on stage are like, if you know, like, that's getting nominated.
Yeah.
If it just is.
I'm gonna keep her.
Yeah. Greta Lee actually has 230 people predicting her for the win.
That's not gonna happen.
That kind of performance would never happen.
Everybody says she's gonna get nominated. In fact, she has the most people predicting her to be nominated.
That's great. It's just gonna happen. It's like we said when we saw it.
I think so.
If you want a critic's performance, it's actually not gonna be Greta Lee. Greta Lee's gonna get lots of nominations. I don't know if she's going to get a ton of wins from critics, though. You know who's going to get critics wins everywhere? Who's going to be the number 1 awarded person with critics this year? I feel very confident about this. It's going to be Sandra Hüller. She's going to be this year's Colin Farrell. They're not going to give it to Fantasia Barrino. That's not going to be their favorite movie. They are going to give it to Sandra Hüller. They're going to say, this is the kind of subtle, like, controlled acting that we like to award, like Colin Farrell and Banshees, and we're not going to know how to give anybody else an award.
And from the trailer, you could just tell that they love giving her the close-ups. They're just throwing close-ups at her face, and she's like, I know what to do with this, and she's just doing it.
All her monologues are a lot of her monologues are in English too, which is excellent for her.
You think so? Do you think that matters?
Yeah, I think that it matters that when she's acting, we can stare at her face and not have to read, and like, I don't know, I think it helps a little bit. Like, she's gonna win all the critics awards, I'm telling you, and she's gonna win all of them, and that puts her in my opinion, that puts her at like number 3 or 2.
Number 2. With Greta Lee, I just think she's behind not only Sandra Hüller, but like possibly Jessica Lange.
Yeah, maybe. But Greta Lee is part of a solid Best Picture contender.
Do you think
probably.
like maybe she can miss?
Past Lives would have to be like super like disappointing overall. Like in
what
its
if Past Lives like somewhat underperforms here and there, and it's not like as
I think
big
Past
as
Lives is going to be very solidly in.
Well, I agree with you. And we were also, doing the math. Sandra Hüller, I think she might win the Golden Globe drama because Fantasia is not there. HFPA, international, they gave
Huppert
the award. In addition, you think Fantasia Barrino's going to win the BAFTA? I don't really think so. I think actually Sandra Hüller is going to win the BAFTA as well.
I mean, remember how confident we were that Colin Farrell was going to win and he didn't?
Oh, well, no. I wasn't that confident. I predicted that Austin Butler would win. That was the only acting prize that I got right. The only one that I predicted correctly.
Well, look, it does make sense to me when you narrow it down that Fantasia Barrino's not going to win the BAFTA and that Sandra Hüller would have a good shot there.
That would make her number 2.
It would easily make her win competitive if she had.
It would make her number 2. So
Absolutely.
I think people should consider her at number 2.
Annette Bening and Nyad, I look at that and I think this is an early year thing that we're just not going to see. Like at the end of the year, that's going to be down there. And like when I just look at like the picture of Annette Bening and Nyad, and I look at like the combo, I feel that way when I look at Natalie Portman in May, December too. I don't know why.
No, but look at this. Look more closely. Emma Stone in Poor Things and Carey Mulligan in Maestro are actually number 5 and 6.
Wow.
So Jessica Lange is number 7. Annette Bening is number 8. Number 5 is Emma Stone in Poor Things.
Yeah, that's interesting.
And Poor Things wasn't doing that well in other categories according to Gold Derby, so people think that she could stand alone.
She could. Natalie Portman, people are very confident about, which is kind of interesting. I think that's because they look at Todd Haynes' films and they say, well, look who got nominated for Far From Heaven and Carol. Like, that's just what happens when you have a lead actress in a Todd Haynes film. While definitely she might get nominated, and I still might predict her, it's not quite the same type of performance as those two. I'm just going to say that.
It is interesting, though. I mean, Gold Derby thinks that 3 performances are getting nominated for May, December, even though they don't think that it's getting nominated for Best Picture. 3.
And it could be The Master or Being the Ricardos.
I think that it's in Screenplay, too, but we'll have to see.
Margot Robbie is the only other person who has
She's
over
at number
100.
9. Yeah.
Which, I don't know, I guess that makes sense, but
makes enough sense, but I don't think it's gonna happen. Tiana Taylor for 1001. She's like a number 13 or so. Fucking hope it happens. I hope that she could pull out, a real like a surprise or a shock or something. That would be great.
Adapted screenplay, Flower Moon is by far number 1 in terms of nominations and very much in terms of wins too. You know what's funny? Barbie is number 5 and yet it's the second place in terms of predicting to win, which makes sense to me. Yeah, because it makes sense to be skeptical that it could get nominated and to think that it could win. The Zone of Interest, people have a high confidence in this movie getting nominated for adapted screenplay.
What do you think about that?
I feel like The Zone of Interest might barely oh my god, thank God, squeeze in right at the last second. I think Zone of Interest is going to be we are going to be on our that's not going to get a WGA nomination. That shit is not going to get stumped for PGA.
Is it a dialogue-y movie?
Not really. It's just kind of if you like the movie, you can say that it deserves a screenplay nomination.
Dune 2 is number 3, though. It should be number 3. Dune Part 1 got nominated pretty easily. Dune Part 2 is going to get in. So Barbie's number 5. Spider-Verse is number 6. If you have Spider-Verse in Best Picture, you should probably have Spider-Verse in here. So I think most people should do a Zone of Interest Spider-Verse swap.
Well, that's just what they have to do to get what we have. But
I think that's it makes sense.
And look, I agree with them. The Color Purple is not as strong in screenplay as it is in picture. Gold Derby's doing a good job this year when you really look at it. I mostly agree with a lot of this.
Sometimes when the polls open, we're like, what the fuck is this? And
yeah, but that's
they're not
also
doing that this year.
That's usually because we look too early and we don't look at them in an order like this. Best original screenplay, you have a Past Lives by far. No other movie's even close in terms of people predicting it to win. No movie even has 40 people predicting
it's gonna happen. Unless the probably the holdovers could maybe win, but
that'd be crazy.
Yeah.
But you're right.
Definitely gonna win.
Holdovers and Saltburn have a lot of predicting nominations, and that's very true. And then you have Anatomy of a Fall, which is number 4 for screenplay.
That's a solid top 4 too, and it seems like The number 5 is fighting between Maestro, Air, and May December. I feel like from what I've heard about Maestro, the screenplay is not a standout. Could Air get only screenplay? Because it's the highest for just screenplay.
I think it could. And May December is, that's a solid maybe as well. And it's technically number 5 if you want to really go there.
So technically Gold Derby is predicting May December for 4 nominations.
If it's getting 3 actors and a screenplay, it's obviously that's Best Picture.
No.
In a year of 10, bitch.
Being the Ricardos.
Didn't get screenplay.
I know, but it almost got screenplay. Ma Rainey got 2 lead actors and, it just
didn't get screenplay. That's the point, though. If it's going to miss Best Picture, it's going to miss screenplay.
Well, what about I, Tonya? That got... Oh, that missed screenplay, didn't it?
Yes. Yeah. May December will not get into Best Screenplay if it's not in Best Picture. That's a hard rule that I want to kind of establish right now. That's why I have Aaron, actually. That's why I have Aaron. It's funny, Asteroid City actually has a decent amount predicting it. A lot of people actually really think it's one of their favorite Wes Anderson movies.
That's fine.
But here's the thing.
That's not going to get nominated, but
the movie
fine.
is they can think not a crowd pleaser.
I actually think it's very good. It definitely reinvigorated my faith for Wes Anderson because I felt like he did something new and it made me see a side of him that maybe I was a little bit oblivious to in some of his other movies where I kind of just dismiss it. But I feel like Asteroid City is sophisticated in a way that makes me not be able to dismiss him. Even though I think some of it's silly.
Yeah, but even when that movie ended, the people next to me, when I watched it not at Cannes, they were what? What the fuck?
Yeah. There's no way it's gonna get any Oscar nominations unless it's maybe production design. And honestly, it really should get production design. I wouldn't give it. I would be happy if it won.
I don't know why How Do You Live is an original. I know that it's so barely based off of the book that it's practically just inspired by it.
That doesn't matter.
No, if it's just inspired by it, it might not even count as an adapted screenplay.
For the Oscars, they're pretty strict on this stuff.
I think it's about a character who's inspired by the book How Do You Live, which does not make it an adaptation.
But adaptation was an adaptation. And adaptation was about it was about the author of a book.
Whatever.
And it was still nominated.
You can't compare that to anything else.
I actually can. Because that is the closest comparison you can get here.
While we're on this conversation, Barbie. So the Lego movie is the only other movie I can think of that is similar to this, where it's based off of a product, but not a book or a play or a movie. And the Lego movie was running for original screenplay. But here's the difference between that and Barbie. Barbie maintains the characters Barbie and Ken. And the Lego movie invented original characters. That's where I think the distinction is going to lie. Because Barbie and Ken are still they are characters that are coming from something else. So I think it's going to be adapted, but there's still a debate. There's still a debate to be had.
Because I thought you were talking about How Do You Live, and I was like, that's a fair point, though. If How Do You Live doesn't have any characters from it, then I don't see
That's what I'm saying, though. How Do You Live doesn't have characters.
So, okay, fair point then. But yeah, Barbie, I agree, I feel like that'll end up being adapted because it has the characters.
And that's about it. I'm largely unsurprised by these, and there's nothing crazy. Nobody's going gung-ho on anything that I think is, ridiculous.
Yeah.
Maybe, people just are getting more into the early predictions and there's already a consensus right now. It's funny how my top 10 is literally one or two different, maybe one different from this top 10.
Next time we do a predictions thing, it'll be after we see Barbie and Oppenheimer.
And we're going to review about Barbie and Oppenheimer. And I can't wait. I just can't wait. Thank you for watching. Thank you for subscribing.
Do you think Gold Derby is largely correct?